This might be more trouble than it's worth, but people know your apartment. If we're going to be there a few days, would it be awkward for us to make our way to Manchester?
Yeah,
the idea of me coming to your home to confront you? Is that creepy or is that, like, perfect?
Look, if you could fit it into your time and whatever, and came here and we filmed it here, that would work really well for the story.
I think that this breakthrough really, in a weird way, makes me more excited about the video, and it makes sense that I would get so mad that I would just... That's actually pretty funny that I would...
that you'd go as far as to come here.
This is worth it. This is totally worth it and better. So...
It is, isn't it? It is actually better, isn't it?
The first tiny seed of an idea for the confrontation scene at the end of Ocarina of Time with lyrics, before there was any talk of musical parody or anything like that, was when Brent came up with the unusual idea of adapting the Gerudo Valley music to suit an argument. Here's the music in the original game. It's all flamenco-y and castanetsy, isn't it? Well, Brent had this great idea that if we took that music and twisted it, slowed it down and turned it into a kind of pounding march, it could sound really angry and imposing. Bum, 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 But even though this scene is what kicks off the confrontation, it was actually the last part of it that we ever made up. And that's because the next part, the actual confrontation, is one of the first things we came up with for the whole song. Me and Brent were talking on Skype about the whole project, and we were just sort of floating ideas and throwing them around, and then we realised that we were going to be at a convention together, and this would be the first time we'd met in real life, and it was the perfect opportunity to film some sort of scene between the two of us. And we realised, wouldn't it be funny if the sequel to Mario Land, which we knew had to be Ocarina of Time, ended on this big confrontation where he's actually come to England, and we have this big argument. And as we were thinking about that, the name just snapped into our heads. Confrontation! Suddenly we were talking excitedly about this great idea of having both of us sing at each other angrily over one another. But what if we could go a step further than that? What if we could make it that the tunes we were singing in were tunes from Ocarina of Time? That the confrontation scene wasn't just dramatic, wasn't just overlapping, but it was actually more of the Ocarina of Time medley that the rest of the song had already been. And I was thinking about this for a while, and I said to Brent, leave it with me for a little while, and I'm going to go away and I'm going to think about it. What if we put this new concept of the confrontation together with the previous idea that Brent had of taking the Gerudo music and slowing it down into this pounding march? What if I used that as the bedrock for the confrontation, and over the top of that I have these sort of interweaving Ocarina of Time medley things going on? Anyway, I was excited about the idea. I went and had a shower, and when I came out of the shower, I'd pretty much written it.
We meet at last, we're eye to eye. My heart beats fast, my temper's high. One final chance to tell me why you love this game. Where can I start, and what's the goal? It's games as art that touch the soul. You have no heart, so how can you speak of love? That's madness, and you know it.
This doesn't happen to me very often. This is why I don't mind bringing it up on this occasion. I don't normally have sort of flashes of inspiration, and I don't normally make everything up in one go. Normally, whenever I make anything, it takes me a very long time, and it involves like laying tiny little pebbles on top of one another until you've built a castle. But on this occasion, I did come out of the shower having pretty much made up the confrontation scene.
Graphically, when 3D Ocarina found its tragedy, and you surely cannot tell me that the textures were anything except a muddy blur. But I should be yours to grasp, to see stretched out before your eyes. The 3D added nothing new, it just constricts your point of view.
Now, words changed quite a bit, but musically it stayed just about the same. So if you'd like to hear my original pitch demo that I recorded and sent to Brent, just to essentially illustrate to him the idea I'd had in the shower, neither of us realising just how close it was going to be to the actual final product, then click up here and you can go and listen to that. If you know the Ocarina of Time with lyrics song, then I think this will really interest you, because it really is this sort of glimpse of the very first part of it that either of us finished and constructed. I made this, I recorded it, I sent it over to Brent, and he went, Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. It got edited a little bit, as I say, but you'll be interested to go and listen to it. But it's been a year since that song came out now, and in all that time, I don't know anyone who's actually found everything that I hid in there as part of the medley, so I'm gonna take you through it now. So it starts here. This is the part where Brent kicks open the door, and then I should like to think that everybody knows that one. This is, of course, the famous title screen opening theme from Ocarina of Time, based on the original Zelda game, I think, the tune that you play on the recorder in that game, and the warp whistles in Mario 3. Here it is. There you go. And I wanted it to sound sort of Wild Westy, you know, like wiggling the fingers over the gun holster. Right, let's get diving in, shall we? Here's the confrontation. We're both singing over one another at the same time, but if I cut it there, and I switch off Brent for a moment, and we'll just listen to my bits first. First one, absolutely easy. We needed this when 3D hadn't found its way. This is, of course, the classic Zelda theme. Gamers could say, this is how the future of games could be. So gamers could say, this is how the future of games could be. Right at the start of Ocarina of Time, you emerge out into Kokiri Forest, and you get this lovely little bit of tune, one of the first tunes you hear in the whole game, and it goes like this. And that's my next line in the medley. To live inside that world and explore the land, sword in hand. To live inside that world and explore the land, sword in hand. Be the hero, that's what we'd all dreamed of. This is just nostalgia now. That bit's not from Zelda at all. And then finally, a story that clips without relying on some pre-rendered clips. It's a method that went on to Eclipse. That bit ought to sound pretty familiar. If you can't figure out why, it's just the Zelda theme again. Of course it is. You already knew that, didn't you? A story that grips without relying on some pre-rendered clips. It's a method that went on to Eclipse all others to this day. I embellished it a bit, I'll give you that. But now we turn to Brent's half of the song, and this is where things get a little bit more complicated. See, I originally had the concept, this was like the first idea that I went away to that shower with, that all the tunes that I sing in the Confrontation medley will be like good guy tunes, because back then, this was a video about me being like the good guy and representing love and like just sort of general niceness, and meanwhile Brent was going to get angrier and angrier and more bitter as the video went on until he was essentially a Grinch character at the end. So by this point in the video, in the original concept, he was the villain instead of both of us being idiots. So I made all of his tunes be like villain tunes. But I didn't want it to be super obvious, and I tweaked them to make them a little bit sort of disguised. And these are the ones that really I'm not aware of anyone having figured out are in there. So let's go through them. First of all, we have this. Graphically, Ocarina was a tragedy. This is a rather subtle one. Ganondorf, the villain of Ocarina of Time, originally from the Gerudo tribe. And the music that's playing under the argument is the Gerudo theme, so I just put a bit of Gerudo in there. Remember this? Here we are again with the flamenco guitars and the castanets, and then what do we hear in the background? But graphically, Ocarina was a tragedy.
The textures cause depressing personality, cause they're literally sad to see.
Next one's even harder.
They took that game I loved so much and twisted it into a beast and made it look all new and strange. If there's one thing I hate, it's change.
This one was a more obvious choice, but a rather more subtle and strange interpretation of it. This is Ganondorf's theme, and listen to how it's built. You start off here, then you go up a step, then you go up another step, then another step. They took that game I loved so much and twisted it into a beast. You start there, you go up a step, and another one, And another one. And made it look all new and strange. If there's one thing I hate, it's change. They made it look all new and strange. If there's one thing I hate, it's change was just a bit I added on the end. How about the next bit? This one's very difficult to guess. Listen.
This overrated shore with all its fanboy drones.
Getting anything?
What's worse, it spawned a million lame adventure clones.
It's tricky to guess, but if you bear in mind everything I've told you so far, you might be able to get it. Go on, go back and listen to that bit again and see if you can guess. When you fight an enemy in Ocarina of Time, this is the battle music that plays. Right? Not much to listen to. There's hardly anything there. You certainly can't write lyrics to it. But wait. There it is. This overrated shore with all its fanboy drones. What's worse, it spawned a million lame adventure clones. This is just nostalgia now. If you showed it to a child today, they'll ask you for a link to the past. It's much more fun to play. It doesn't really fit in very well there, but that's what it is. Now, if you've heard my demo, you'll know that my version of the Confrontation just suddenly ended at the end before it had its sort of final bit. This is a demo Brent sent me where he was basically pitching an ending for it. It goes like this.
If you won't disavow this your sacred cow, I don't care, 'cause this ends now.
And that's where that came from. He just sent me that back and said, how about this for an ending? So I drew that out into here. And then used that as the basis for this.
That's the end of the confrontation scene, but not of the song. Yeah, it's easy to forget the confrontation isn't the finale. In fact, it's only about halfway through. So, next time we'll be talking about how to fix a friendship, and you'll find out how we wrote ourselves into a corner that stalled the whole project and nearly killed it. If you'd like to buy the song, or the without lyrics version of the song, thanks very much, links are in the description. If you'd like Mario Land without lyrics, well then just wait a few seconds. If not, click here to go straight to part 5!
Well, that episode took a while, didn't it? Sorry about that. I'm a grown-up now, I had to prioritise things. But let's try and change that, shall we? Would you like Mario Land without lyrics? Yes, you would. You keep sending me messages asking for it. Well, if you're the sort of person who'd be prepared to give me, say, $1 for Mario Land with lyrics...
Without lyrics, I mean, of course. With lyrics is already available.
And in future you'd like me to hurry up with this sort of thing, well then pop along to, my Patreon. Over there you go, but you can have Mario Land with lyrics.
I mean without.
If you sign up to even the lowest tier. Higher than that, and you get interesting things of all sorts. Not to mention that if you're here watching this video at all, it means you quite like my songs, and there's a tier on the Patreon where if you sign up, you'll get a load of those. See you again soon! I imagine we're already quite post-Christmas at this point as you're watching this video. The next part will be even poster still. It'll be the poster child for post-Christmas videos.